My friends, there comes a moment in every life when the world shakes without warning, when the ground beneath us shifts, plans fall apart, and the future refuses to walk in the straight line we drew for it. And in that moment we learn a truth that humbles even the strongest among us. Life will not always listen to your expectations. The winds change without permission. People leave without explanation. Opportunities appear and vanish like morning mist. Nothing outside of you is ever fully yours to command. But hear this, and hear it deeply: you are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of the storm. You carry something life cannot touch: your attitude, your choices, your character, your discipline, your courage, your response. The world around you may twist and turn, but the world within you that is your kingdom. And you are its ruler, its guardian, its guiding flame. You cannot control who comes to harm you, but you can control whether you stay broken. You cannot control how heavy the day becomes, but you can decide whether you rise with it or bow beneath it. You cannot control the noise of the world, but you can choose the volume of your own truth. Every time life challenges you, it also offers you a choice to react in fear or respond with wisdom, to collapse or to rise, to surrender your power or to reclaim it. You may not decide the events, but you always decide the meaning. You may not choose the path, but you choose the pace, the posture, the purpose. So when life grows wild, anchor yourself. Stand firm in your values. Speak kindness even in chaos. Hold peace even when the world rushes at you. Direct your thoughts like a conductor guiding a symphony. Lift your spirit the way a sunrise lifts the sky. Because the truth is simple, but it is mighty. Life shapes the outside, but you shape the inside. And the inside is where victories are born. Life has a way of surprising us in the moments we feel most certain. One breath feels steady, the next feels scattered. You can map out your plans, carve out a path, and prepare your steps with the precision of a master. Yet life still finds ways to bend the road you were so sure would stay straight. But unpredictability is not your enemy. It is simply the nature of existence. What becomes powerful is understanding that even when events escape your control, your spirit does not have to. There is a sacred strength in realizing you can't dictate the world, but you can direct yourself. That is where true power begins. Every challenge, every loss, every unexpected turn demands a response, but not the kind pulled from fear, anger, or panic. You can be shaken without surrendering. You can be confused without collapsing. Life may force situations upon you, but it cannot force your reaction. The moment you recognize that your emotional energy is yours to guide, something within you shifts. You realize you are not the storm. You are the lighthouse that stands within it. You may sway, but you do not fall. You may doubt, but you do not drown. You respond, not with weakness, but with intention. There will be days when life hits you without mercy, when everything you planned crumbles like sand slipping through your fingers. Yet in those moments, the question isn't why did this happen, but who will I choose to be now? That question is the dividing line between defeat and determination. You may not choose the chaos, but you choose your courage. You may not choose the burden, but you choose your backbone. When you shift your focus from controlling circumstances to controlling your character, you step into the strongest version of yourself. People often believe that power comes from managing everything around them, but real power comes from mastering everything within you. Life can twist in directions you never expected, but your attitude is yours alone. Your discipline is your own territory. Your steadiness belongs to you. No one can force you to think small, speak with bitterness, or move with fear. In every discomfort, in every uncertainty, you have the ability to guide your mind toward clarity, your heart toward peace, and your actions toward purpose. That inner leadership is a power no circumstance can take away. When something unexpected enters your life, you stand at a crossroads, react impulsively or respond intentionally. Reaction is fast, emotional, and often damaging. Response is thoughtful, patient, and grounded in wisdom. You may not control the moment, but the moment does not get to control you. With each calm breath, with each deliberate choice, you reclaim authority over your own life. You become someone who cannot be defined by external forces, but instead chooses who they will be in the middle of unpredictability. That is the beginning of emotional freedom. The truth is simple but mighty. Life will always test you, but it cannot choose for you. Your reactions write the story of your life more than circumstances ever will. You hold the pen even when the plot twists, so stand tall in the middle of uncertainty. Speak gently to yourself when the world grows loud. Move with intention when everything else feels unsteady, because your response, your courage, your patience, your wisdom, is the one thing life cannot take from you. And when you learn to control yourself, even the wildest storms lose their power. There is a place inside you that no one can enter without your permission. A place where your thoughts are born, where your beliefs take root, where your emotions find shelter. This inner world is sacred, and it is yours alone. Yet most people spend their lives trying to control everything outside of them, while neglecting the one space that shapes their entire existence. When you understand that your peace, your mindset, and your emotional climate belong to you, you stop waiting for life to calm down before you feel calm. You begin cultivating the quiet within, even when the world outside makes noise. Your thoughts may seem like they appear on their own, but they don't. They grow from the seeds you plant every day, the conversations you entertain, the beliefs you accept, the stories you tell yourself in the silence of your mind. When you take responsibility for what you allow to live inside your head, you begin to shape your life with intention. You stop letting old wounds speak for you. You stop letting fear make your choices. You start choosing thoughts that build you instead of break you. That choice, repeated daily, becomes the foundation of a stronger, wiser self. Your emotions, too, are not just reactions. They are signals, messages, and inner teachers. They rise to tell you what needs healing, what needs protecting, what needs changing. When you take responsibility for your emotions, you stop blaming the world for how you feel. You begin to observe your reactions instead of drowning in them. You learn to sit with your anger without letting it explode, to acknowledge your sadness without letting it define you, to feel your fear without letting it lead you. Emotional responsibility is not about suppression. It is about direction. It is the art of guiding your heart instead of abandoning it. Your inner world also includes your habits, those small, daily choices that shape your character more than any major life event. Discipline is an act of self-love. Consistency is a promise to yourself. When you nurture routines that elevate your mind and spirit, you build a life that can withstand storms. It is easy to blame circumstances for your lack of progress. But growth begins when you admit that your habits are yours to choose. Changing them is not a punishment, it is a liberation. Each small act of discipline is you taking ownership of the person you are becoming. Your peace is also your responsibility. Many people wait for the world to be gentle before they allow themselves to rest. But life is rarely gentle, and waiting for perfect conditions is a lifetime sentence of anxiety. When you learn to create peace inside yourself, you no longer depend on situations to feel steady. You breathe deeper even when the air feels heavy. You find stillness even when the world moves too fast. Peace becomes something you build, not something you chase, and that makes you unshakable in ways the world cannot understand. Taking responsibility for your inner world is not a burden. It is freedom. It means you no longer give away your power to circumstances, people, or situations. You stop being a victim of everything that happens around you, and instead become the author of what happens within you. When you learn to guide your thoughts, nurture your emotional wisdom, build empowering habits, and protect your peace, you become unstoppable. The world may shift and break and tremble, but you remain rooted, centered, and whole. Because you are no longer controlled by life. You are guided by your own inner truth. There will always be people who misunderstand you, who take more than they give, who speak carelessly, or who see you through the narrow lens of their own fears and insecurities. You cannot control their choices, their tone, or their way of living, and you were never meant to. Trying to manage another person's behavior is a losing battle that drains your strength and steals your peace. But what you can control, what you must control, is the doorway to your own energy. Your boundaries are a declaration of self-respect, a gentle but firm reminder to the world that you are not a space for chaos to freely enter. Some people will test your limits simply because they assume you have none. They will push, pull, and press into your life in ways that leave you feeling small, heavy, or unseen. But boundaries are the invisible walls that remind you of your worth. They are not punishments, they are parameters. They teach people how to treat you by showing them what you will and will not allow. When you hold your boundaries with quiet confidence, you no longer react out of desperation. You respond from self-awareness. You stop chasing approval and start honoring yourself. Setting boundaries is an act of courage. It is not easy to say no when the world has taught you to always be agreeable. It is not easy to walk away from those you care about when their actions continually wound you. It is not easy to put yourself first when you have spent years prioritizing others. But courage is not about winning battles. It is about choosing yourself even when your voice trembles. It is choosing peace over pleasing, clarity over confusion, and worth over self-sacrifice. People may not like your boundaries, especially those who benefited from you having none. They might accuse you of being cold, distant, or unkind, but their discomfort is not your responsibility. Protecting your inner world is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot pour into others when you are empty. You cannot be compassionate when you are drained. You cannot show love when you are drowning. Boundaries are the breathing room your soul needs to stay alive, healthy, and whole. When you begin to set boundaries, you also begin to attract a different kind of person. Those who value your time, honor your energy, and respect your presence. The relationships in your life become more balanced, more nourishing, more honest. You begin to see that boundaries don't push good people away. They filter out the ones who were never meant to stay. And the moment you see the difference, you understand that boundaries are not walls. They are doors you choose to open with intention. You may not be able to change people, but you can choose how close they can stand to your heart. You can choose how much access they have to your mind, your time, your peace, and your spirit. That choice is your power. It is the quiet strength that allows you to live without resentment, without exhaustion, without bitterness. When you learn to guard your life with wisdom, you create a world where you can breathe, grow, and be fully yourself. And that, more than anything, is the freedom you deserve. Perspective is the quiet architect of your reality. Two people can stand in the same storm, feel the same rain, hear the same thunder. Yet one sees disaster while the other sees a chance to grow roots that reach deeper than ever before. Life is shaped less by what happens and more by how you interpret what happens. You hold the ability to turn pain into wisdom, setbacks into lessons, and uncertainty into an invitation toward growth. When you begin to understand that the world outside you mirrors the world within you, you start treating your thoughts as sacred. You realize that peace is not waiting at the end of your circumstances. It is waiting at the end of your perspective. There are moments when life feels unbearably heavy, when disappointments stack so high they shadow the light you once believed in. Yet even in those moments, perspective gives you space to breathe. It whispers, "Look again." Look not only at what you lost, but at what you are learning. Look not only at the door that closed, but at the strength you discovered in the hallway. Look not only at the pain you carry, but at the endurance it is building within you. When you begin to see hardship not as punishment, but as preparation, your entire relationship with difficulty transforms. The same moment that felt like an ending now becomes the birthplace of resilience. Perspective is also the freedom to choose your narrative. You can decide whether a challenge becomes a wound that defines you or a chapter that develops you. You can decide whether a betrayal becomes a lifelong scar or a reminder to raise your standards. You can decide whether loneliness becomes despair or a preparation for deeper connection. Life offers you countless stories, but you are the one who chooses which one becomes your truth. And when you choose wisely, you reclaim your peace from the hands of situations that once stole it. Sometimes, changing your perspective is not about being positive. It is about being honest. Honest about what you can control and what you cannot. Honest about what is worth fighting for and what is draining your soul. Honest about who you are becoming and who you can no longer pretend to be. Peace is found not in pretending everything is fine, but in seeing everything clearly and deciding to protect your inner world anyway. When you learn to shift your mind from "why is this happening to me?" to "what is this shaping within me?" you step into a maturity that no circumstance can take away. Perspective also teaches you that every emotion has a purpose, even the uncomfortable ones. Fear alerts you to danger, but it also reminds you to slow down. Sadness reveals what your heart values most. Anger exposes where your boundaries have been crossed. Disappointment shows where you placed your hope, and invites you to place it more wisely. These emotions are not enemies to run from. They are messengers that guide you toward deeper understanding. When you see them through a lens of wisdom instead of judgment, your emotional life becomes softer, calmer, more manageable. Peace is born not from avoiding emotions, but from interpreting them with compassion. When you elevate your perspective, you elevate your life. The world may not change, but the way you walk through it does. Situations remain the same, but your strength grows. People may disappoint you, but you stop letting their actions decide your worth. Challenges arise, but you approach them with steadiness instead of fear. Peace becomes less of a destination and more of a daily choice, a choice shaped by the lenses you look through. When you choose a perspective rooted in wisdom, gratitude, and purpose, the world becomes less threatening and more meaningful. You begin to realize that peace was never something the world could give. It was something you had the power to create all along. True strength is forged not in the absence of challenges, but in the way you meet them. Life will place obstacles in your path, sometimes subtle, sometimes overwhelming, and the choice you make in those moments shapes the very foundation of who you are. It is tempting to step back, to avoid confrontation, to retreat into comfort and safety. But every time you shy away, a piece of your potential remains dormant. Courage does not come from running from difficulty. It is birthed in the quiet, deliberate act of facing what comes, even when fear is loud, even when the weight is heavy. Responding to life rather than avoiding it builds resilience that no circumstance can steal. When you confront challenges, you discover capacities you never knew existed. A problem that once seemed insurmountable becomes a teacher, revealing your patience, creativity, and persistence. Strength grows in the tension between fear and action, in the space where your resolve stretches beyond your comfort zone. Each response you take, each decision made in the face of uncertainty, leaves an imprint on your character. Avoidance may offer temporary relief, but it never leaves you transformed. It is only in response, in the conscious engagement with life, that you become larger than the circumstances you face. Avoidance is seductive because it offers safety and quiet. It tells you that peace lies in retreat, that strength is preserved when the storm is ignored. But life does not grant wisdom to those who wait. It grants wisdom to those who engage. When you meet challenges head-on, you begin to understand the rhythm of struggle and triumph. You learn that obstacles are not punishers but guides. Every confrontation, every setback, every unexpected twist is a mirror showing you your inner capacity. And each time you respond instead of avoid, your courage compounds, until the fear that once controlled you becomes nothing more than a whisper in the background. Strength is not measured in brute force or loud declarations. It is measured in the quiet determination to act even when the heart quivers, in the choice to show up when everything inside urges you to flee, and in the persistence to keep moving even when progress feels invisible. Responding to life requires honesty, for you must acknowledge your limitations and fears without letting them dictate your actions. It requires patience, for growth rarely comes in a single leap. It requires faith, for the outcomes may not always align with your desires. But in the discipline of response, you forge an inner fortitude that stands unwavering, even in storms. Avoidance can appear comforting, but it carries a hidden cost, the erosion of self-belief. Each time you step aside from a challenge, you tell yourself that you are not enough to face it. Each time you deny yourself the struggle, you deny yourself the triumph. And yet, when you choose to respond, even imperfectly, you reclaim a piece of your power. You tell yourself that you are capable, that you are resilient, that you are alive in the fullest sense. Response turns fear into fuel, struggle into insight, and obstacles into stepping stones. It transforms life from a series of external pressures into an ongoing journey of self-mastery. Ultimately, strength is born not from avoiding what is hard, but from embracing it fully. Life will test you with heartbreak, disappointment, chaos, and uncertainty, and your power is revealed in how you meet each moment. Responding with courage, clarity, and intention trains your mind, tempers your heart, and steadies your soul. Avoidance may feel like safety, but it is response that shapes destiny. When you make the choice to engage, to stand firm, and to act despite fear, you discover that you were never truly at the mercy of life. You were always the force capable of guiding yourself through it, stronger than any storm could ever be. True freedom is not the absence of rules or the absence of difficulty. True freedom is the mastery of yourself. It is the quiet, unwavering ability to govern your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your choices, even when the world around you rages with chaos. Many spend their lives chasing freedom in external circumstances, believing that wealth, recognition, or approval will grant it. But those are illusions. Real freedom lives inside, in the space where you refuse to be controlled by every passing emotion, by every provocation, by every challenge that life throws in your path. Self-control is the gatekeeper to that sanctuary. When you master yourself, you reclaim your power from the hands of circumstance. You can face anger without letting it consume you. You can experience disappointment without letting it define you. You can encounter betrayal without losing your sense of self-worth. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you choose your response instead of reacting impulsively, you expand your inner space. You are no longer a prisoner to fleeting emotions or the whims of others. You begin to understand that the one who truly controls your life is you, and that realization is profoundly liberating. Self-control is not denial. It is discipline guided by awareness. It is not about suppressing desires or emotions, but about directing them toward purpose. You learn to discern what deserves your energy and what drains it. You learn to speak with intention rather than impulse, to act with clarity rather than chaos. In every interaction, in every decision, in every thought, you are choosing your alignment with your higher self. The mastery of self is an ongoing practice, a quiet, powerful commitment to becoming the person who cannot be swayed by circumstance, but instead guides circumstance through the wisdom of their choices. There will always be moments designed to test your restraint. Someone will say harsh words, someone will betray your trust. Life will tempt you with shortcuts that promise pleasure but steal peace. In these moments, self-control becomes your shield. It allows you to move through the storm without being battered, to navigate challenges without losing sight of your values, and to preserve your dignity when others have none. The strength of character you cultivate through this practice becomes visible not only to yourself but to everyone around you. People will feel the steadiness you carry, the calm that comes from a mind and heart that are no longer at the mercy of the outside world. Self-control also nurtures clarity and focus. When you govern your impulses, you are able to act with deliberate purpose rather than scattered reaction. You begin to see which paths lead to growth and which paths lead to exhaustion. You begin to make choices that honor your long-term goals rather than fleeting temptations. In this way, self-control is not restrictive, it is expansive. It gives you room to grow, to create, to love, and to live fully. The more you master yourself, the more you discover that freedom was never about avoiding life's trials. It was about rising above them with composure and wisdom. Ultimately, self-control is the highest form of freedom because it makes you unstoppable. Life may try to dictate your emotions, test your patience, and disrupt your plans, but it cannot take away the calm that comes from mastery. You become the steady force in a turbulent world, the unshakable presence amidst chaos. You hold the power to respond with grace, to speak with clarity, and to act with intention. And in that mastery, you realize a profound truth. No external circumstance can enslave the one who has learned to govern themselves. That is freedom, that is power, that is the legacy of a life fully owned. And so, my friends, remember this truth. Life will always be unpredictable. Storms will come, plans will crumble, and people will disappoint. Circumstances will challenge you, opportunities will slip, and the world will often feel beyond your control. But what is always within your reach, what is always yours, is you. Your response, your perspective, your boundaries, your habits, your courage, and yourself. Mastery. These are the forces no one and nothing can take from you. In the midst of life's chaos, you hold the power to shape your inner world, to rise above fear, to stand firm in your values, and to walk forward with clarity and strength. Life may try to dictate your worth, your emotions, and your destiny, but the one who truly governs your life is you. When you choose how to respond rather than react, when you honor your inner world, when you set boundaries that protect your peace, when you cultivate perspective that brings clarity, when you embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, and when you master yourself with discipline and intention, you are no longer a passenger in life. You become the pilot, the author, the steady force that the storms cannot topple. Take heart in knowing that freedom is not given, it is claimed. Peace is not found in circumstances, it is created. Strength is not measured by the battles you escape, but by the battles you face and rise through. Every choice you make to direct yourself, to act with courage, and to nurture your inner world is a declaration. I will not be shaped by the world. I will shape myself, and through myself, I will shape my life. That is the power that no one can take, the power that life cannot shake, the power that resides in you alone. Carry this with you. The world cannot control you, but you can control your mind. Life cannot dictate your worth, but you can dictate your response. Circumstances may test you endlessly, but your inner strength is limitless. Every moment offers you a choice, to surrender or to rise, to react or to respond, to be swept away or to stand tall. And each time you choose the latter, you step closer to a life lived with courage, wisdom, and freedom. So when the winds of uncertainty howl, when the path bends unexpectedly, when the world seems heavy and unyielding, stand firm. Anchor yourself in your values, your choices, and your inner truth. Speak gently but firmly to yourself. Act with clarity and protect the sacred space within. Life may test you, but it will never define you. You are the power, the calm, the strength, and the freedom that no storm can touch. Own it, live it, and let your life be a testament to the unshakable force that resides in every human soul willing to rise.